Hey buddy, Jim from Jim's Coleus. Here I am with my overwintered Saturn Rings Coleus. I'm going to go over a couple of things today. Hope if you're following along and you're sowing seeds along with me, I'm going to go over some things with my trays. If you're using the Jiffy trays or seeding in pots, it's pretty much the same procedure. Just going to go over a couple of things just to give you an idea where I'm at, where you may be at, whether you're behind where Mike's Coleus are, or perhaps your Coleus are ahead of mine, just to give you an idea of what to do, what to expect, and so forth. And days are getting longer. 10 days until daylight savings time. I think it's 12 days, 13 days, or something along those lines until the first day of spring. The days are getting longer. And already the Coleus, especially on my southeast facing window, already my overwintered Coleus and even my rootings are starting to really wake up. So you're going to expect that also if you're overwintering your Coleus. But I'm going to do a couple of things here to show you what to do with your overwintered Coleus to boost them even further, to get them motivated, to get them stimulated for, now we already know new growth is coming in, but particularly if you have some areas that are not very full, what you can do to stimulate some new growth. So we're going to give this a bit of a haircut, but trimming is probably, for Coleus especially, trimming is probably one of the best things you can do to stimulate your Coleus, to get it growing new shoots, whether it's new foliage, new branches, to stimulate it, to get it going. Trimming is probably one of the best things you can do with your Coleus, and one of the most misunderstood things, fears that people have, that you're going to cut too much and you're going to kill your Coleus. You're not going to. It's hard to do because you have a beautiful plant like this and you feel like you've done all this work to get it to grow like this, and now you're going to trim it. But yes, because it's early in the season, the growing season is really at the very beginning. So we have lots of growth. So this is an overwinter plant. This is an older plant. So we're going to trim, going to go through this and trim some leaves and so forth, and some branches. Maybe not, see how tall it is. We're going to cut some of this down so it's not so leggy, and that'll fill it in, jumpstart it for the spring. So, all right, so let's go first. Let's go take a look at the germinations and where I'm at and where you're at and what to expect and what to do at this point to keep them thriving. And before you know it, they're going to start to really take off once the sun gets more intense and the days get longer and warmer. You're going to really see them start to take off. And a lot of it's dependent upon where you live. Of course, if you're in the southern zones, the warmer zones like Florida, Texas, and so forth, Arizona, where it's warmer, it's not as drastic because you're near the equator. But if you're up in Detroit or Canada, Alaska, Minnesota, and so forth, things are going to obviously warm up. You're not out of winter by any means yet, but your days are going to get longer. They are going to hopefully get warmer, and your Coleus, your indoor plants, will start to really wake up. But you can see we got a lot of nice new growth here. So, all right, so let's go take a look at the trays. Okay, I'm gonna take these out of the greenhouse and put them on the table so we can see them up close. But just to give you an idea, overnight I close this little door. I don't zip it up, but I close it just to really keep the warmth going. I just took the tray top off. Again, at this point, when your germinations have shown, you don't want to keep the cover completely sealed. You want it to be popped off to the side so you're getting air in. But let me take these out on the table and we can get a little close up and see how things are progressing and what I'm doing, and just apply that procedure to your own. If you're using, specifically if you're using the Jiffy pods. If not, if you're using little pots like this and growing your own, what to do as well. All right, so here's one tray. Actually, can you see now? Now I don't know if if this is the pods itself, but these center pods are all. I'm going to give them some water, but generally the center ones don't dry out. But I'm thinking that it might be just the brand, because I did buy pods online separate. I buy in bulk, so it could be the brand that are a little lighter. The peat's a little lighter than these other ones, because all my other trays they're darker. So that could be a little misleading, thinking that, hey, these are dry. So you got to be careful. Generally, what I do is I kind of feel them. And you can tell if they really need water, how light they are. They'll actually move. But just, I'm going to give these just a little bit of water. So they're all well hydrated and watered. I didn't saturate them, as you can see. If you do think you overwatered your pods like this, don't worry about it. Just keep the pot, when you actually put them back in your greenhouse or wherever you keep them under grow lights or windows. Then maybe that night, that day, leave the top off completely, and that'll evaporate some of the water. But just water slowly. Don't saturate, drench it. But we can see they're coming in nicely. There's a few in the other tray I'm going to show you that actually are starting to really slow to get the second set of leaves, the actual real. There you go, right in the center there, right here too. That's those tiny little sprouts. Those are the actual coleus plant. Those they're slow, relative, but as the days grow longer, these will really speed up, and before you know it, we'll be looking at some color perhaps, and even some patterning based on what type of variety it is. But this is what's really exciting about this, is watching them grow. And sometimes you get a little impatient. And again, I reseeded a few of these pods that the original seeds didn't germinate for a number of reasons. That happens. So you can see one coming in now. This one hasn't as of yet. But this tray is pretty good. Although I'd like to have at least 2 or 3 coleus per pod. I know the ones that have 1 or 2, I reseeded like 2 days ago. So we'll give them more time. And but these are looking pretty good. And at this point, again, don't fertilize. Make sure having that clear dome or the plastic wrap partially covering the tray will keep them from completely drying out. And again, as I mentioned earlier, the pods along the edge are the ones that'll dry out sooner than the center ones. But you can see they're coming in. No fertilizer, just keep them under as much light. I can't stress enough how much light is, how important light is. And if you don't have grow lights, they're really inexpensive. If you need them, you're not sure what to get, just reach out to me. I'll send you a link. They're very inexpensive. Full spectrum LED grow lights with a timer like the ones I have in my greenhouse. Really, really good. But really, light is so important to getting these boosted. So I have all the guns out on these. I have all my grow lights going 24 hours a day. And then later on, we'll get into the day and night cycle. But no fertilizer. Keep the dome lids partially on so it maintains your moisture. And just let them develop. Be patient. We still got plenty of time. Spring, summer, And before you know it, another couple of weeks, we'll really be rocking and rolling with these. Okay, now this tray, this is the second tray that has the secondary, the actual growth coming in, because this is the first tray I did. I did this tray, I think 3 or 4 days before this one. So we can see the difference in growth. It may not look a lot, but if we really go in close to a lot of these, mostly all of them have the true leaves coming in the center. I actually shut the light off on the film. That actually gives you a little better, less washed out. This one's way overseeded. As I mentioned, I try to keep them 4 or 5, but I've been doing this many years. I overseeded a lot of these, and then I pick out the runts, and I try to keep the most healthy ones. And again, there were some over here that did not germinate, so I did plant a few new ones. You can see a couple of newer seed germinations coming in. I just planted them like 2 or 3 days ago. And I did have the heat mats on for I just shut them off last night actually on this tray, because I did have some seeds germinate in here, so I wanted to get them boosted. Having the heat mats on for a day or two is not going to stunt the growth. But again, if you're new here, if you're using heat mats are specifically used for germinating your seeds, getting your seeds to germinate. If you're, whatever it is, if it's a tray, pot, whatever, use your heat mats. Once your seeds germinate and you actually see the germination coming in, then remove the heat mats, because the heat mats, if left on, will cook your germination and it'll stunt and eventually kill them. So you don't need direct heat mats once your coleus, certainly coleus this size, you do not continue using your heat mats. So, but we're moving right along here. And it's sort of like watching water boil. It really is. But you're going to find, you know, I check these every day. And then you're going to find there's a day or two that you're really busy and you're doing stuff. And maybe you didn't have a chance to really kind of look at your plants like this. And then the next time you actually do, you're like, wow, oh my God, look how they get so big already. Like kids. There's some color. You can almost see the color. You see that color coming in there? Let's see what kind. That's a colossal marble. So, it's a colossal marble. So you'll actually see, there you go, you see that? See the color? That soon. Once your true leaves come in, depending on the variety, you'll actually start to see patterning and color. It's so cool. Okay, now getting back to watering, this is a perfect example. Here's one at the edge. See here, I'm kind of like just touching it. Now see how it's, this needs water. This absolutely needs water. And that's how I can tell compared to this. I mean, I can actually feel the difference in the weight as opposed to this one. So, and again, the ones on the set along the perimeter, the outermost, will be the first to dry out. So just keep an eye on them. Also, this is probably where the tray is popped off. So we're getting the air coming in. So naturally, they're going to dry off through evaporation and just the air. So just keep an eye on them. And if you're not sure, put 2 tablespoons or 2 soup spoons full of water. But just give them water. You'll know. Let's give them some water right now. Okay, so let's give them some water. I like to use this sprayer. I don't always do. I have a little water can that I use too, but I like to use this sprayer. And you don't have to be. It doesn't have to be exact, like on. The rest of them look good. And again, you're not going to harm them by giving them a little shot of water. Okay, again, don't fertilize. We don't fertilize until the coleus are in the pot and actively growing, more mature, where the roots are more developed. You don't want to fertilize these young seedlings because they'll burn. Right now it's those little radar dishes and the photosynthesis that are nourishing these little guys. Photosynthesis is the conversion of light from your sun and grow lights to food, energy for your plants. So that continues all through all plants through their complete life cycle. All the light is always nourishing your plants. So, but at this point, you're not using fertilizer to nourish these little germinations. Okay. And here you go. This is basically what I mean. Keep the top on, popped off partially. It's letting air in, all sides, and getting that air circulation in there is very important. The oxygen, the plants need the oxygen. So very important to do that. If you're using pots at the saran wrap, it's the same principle. Just loosen the saran wrap off a bit on the sides, and I'll be posting regular videos of instruction on when I actually remove these. And once you do remove these, then we're going to start marching towards separating and potting them. And at, by that point, but once you remove these tops here, then you're going to have to really keep up on the water. But again, these peat pods, as fast as they do dry out, they do retain a lot of moisture. So you would have to neglect them for a week completely or more to actually lose your germinations. But I don't want to scare you, but just to give you an idea. And it all depends also where you keep your germinations. Don't put them baking in direct sunlight for hours. If you have a south-facing window, as I do, and sun is once we get into spring, we're into April and stuff, these will be bigger. But if you have germinations that late, don't let them bake in direct sun for hours. Try to keep them in the brightness of daylight or grow lights, but protect them from baking sun. You see what I mean? So, but light is really important to coleus throughout their whole life cycle, but particularly at this germination stage. All right, so let's go, and I'm going to give that Saturn rings a little haircut just to give you an idea what I do to get my overwintered coleus jump-started for spring. Okay, everybody. So here's our Saturn rings. Again, difference between a Saturn rings and a Saturn. And they're an offshoot of each other. I'm not sure which one came first, the chicken or the egg, or Saturn rings. I imagine Saturn and then Saturn rings. But the difference between a Saturn and a Saturn rings is the Saturn rings has much more green than the burgundy. The Saturn has a lot more burgundy, very dark burgundy, and more of a sliver in the center. I love both, so I have both. And this one will get darker. If you can actually see, this is all new growth. You can see it's a lot darker. And then you have this old, washed out growth here that really needs to go. So what I'm going to do first is go through and get rid of all of this. This is hugely beneficial to your coleus by giving it a haircut like this, getting rid of all of this first. I'm sort of going to be like a barber. I'm going to go through this first, look, and get rid of all of this. Back here, This stem here doesn't look too good. It's actually, all this is really worn, so I'm going to get rid of this. Now again, this is sort of like getting back to my Bob Ross analogy. There's really no mistakes in nature, so you can't really cut your coleus down too much. I mean, I'm weighing out the benefits of getting this thing really jump started, and it's already growing well. What I'm going to do is see how it's kind of hanging over. It's getting a little bit leggy, but it's got more top growth than growth down here. So what we want to do is trim some of this. See this new growth up top here? I'm gonna get rid of some of these older leaves, doing really a combination. Look around, you got some damaged leaves, these bigger leaves. See that new growth coming in? Get rid of these leaves here. I'm gonna trim the very top. And this is new growth, yes, I understand that. But we have to weigh you have to look at the whole picture of what's beneficial to the plant. And I don't want a really top heavy coleus. That, we got some, here's some down here. I'm going to go through this whole plant and get rid of all of this old growth. I'm actually just going to get rid of that. I don't really want this down here. Now, yes, I could take this and root it, but if you're new to coleus, if you cut a branch like this, you can put it in water and root it. And in about a week or so, you'll start to see the little roots come up. Like this here, there's a little baby. Put it in a little vase, and you can have a clone. And you can make a clone from the mother tree. But I digress. Okay, so we're going to give this a good haircut. See, we got some new growth up here. This is sort of weighing it down. I'm going to cut just the very top portion of new growth, and some of these big underlying, the very top. And yes, I know this is new growth and it's beautiful and so forth, but we're looking at the big picture. And I'm telling you folks, I hate to say, do I call you folks, friends? This is so beneficial to your coleus, especially now. This is so beneficial. Now see, this is kind of older up top here, so what I'm going to do is this. It's kind of old, dry. Yeah, that's new, but it's kind of dried out, so we're going to get rid of this because we're looking at the big picture. Got some older, washed out growth down below here. Check your soil. If you have any dead or old leaves, any organic matter that's in the bottom here that doesn't belong there, get rid of it. Look around, you got some dead stuff here. There's an old leaf, it's ripped. Look around, got an old leaf here. You know what, I'm really just looking at the plant like a sculpture. And again, it's facing this way, so when I put it back to the window, I'm going to face it, I'm going to put it this way, so the plant starts to favor this side here towards the sun. See all that? All this trimming I just did is going to start to stimulate growth down here, and that's what I want. I want all this trimming up here. By getting rid of this top growth up here, the energy that would normally go up here to keep growing up top is going to, the plant's going to say to itself, okay, I can't grow up here, so you know what, let me start some new shoots out here. And that's exactly what trimming does. This is so beneficial to your coleus. So don't be afraid of doing it. Don't be afraid of making mistakes, because there are no mistakes here. There's nothing by trimming that you can do that's going to really hurt your coleus. So, you know, like I said, I'm going around in circles. It may look like, hey, I skipped this one and then I went back to it. Like here, it's really your plant. This is, whoops, see, mistakes happen, things break. Am I worried? No, at all. I'm not worried at all. And you're going to see things. Okay, so there we go. We gave her a good haircut. Some would argue you can actually trim this here. We take this very top here. At this point, I'm trying to keep it from growing any taller. So all this new growth, this top new growth, I'm going to get rid of. Okay, so that's your best way to get your overwintered coleus jump started for spring. Definitely start to fertilize now. Either use, if you're a busy person and you don't want to have to mix up fertilizer or stuff, you can use time release fertilizer pellets, whatever brand, Miracle Grow, Osmocote, general purpose plant food. Don't use flower food, don't use Mirasid, don't use acid loving plant food, don't use vegetable fertilizer. They have too much phosphorus, too much potassium. I don't want to get too far ahead. General purpose plant food is what you need, and that's simple. So if you're a busy person, get time release fertilizer pellets, sprinkle them on the top, and every time you water, you'll be fertilizing your coleus. Okay, and if you're following along, if you noticed my last post, I actually purchased a clementine, an indoor clementine tree, and planted it. I got this online, and it's doing really well. It's coming back. I mean, it's acclimated. It looks really happy. I'm keeping it on the stake because it's tall and it's still very, I don't want it falling over. The wood stake in the soil is really going to do very little as far as robbing it from nitrogen. But the benefits outweigh that. But it's really in nice shape. It's doing well. It's still a sapling. I don't believe I'm going to get any fruit this year. It's way too young. We'll see how it goes. Once the weather starts to get really warm, eventually this is going to be outside. I'll put it in my greenhouse. As of right now, because it's near sort of like the heat register, I have it by the window because they really want a lot of light. I'm going to mist it. I have this really fine mister because they like humidity. They like to be moist. So I mist it several times a day, which really is giving it benefits. I mean, it doesn't stay moist all day long. This is going to evaporate, but it makes it happier. And watering it every couple of days. It's pretty well watered. And it's doing well. So this is a clementine. It's an easy peel clementine tree. So I'm really excited. Hey, maybe I'll be lucky and get fruit this year, but it's very unlikely. We'll get it jump started, growing, and then hopefully next year we'll be getting plenty of clementines. So stay tuned. Happy tree, happy tree. I miss Bob Ross. Oh, I missed him. I used to really love watching his show in the 90s. And again, I painted two. I followed along religiously. I think his show was on Channel 13 in New York. and I watched his show religiously. I used to tape his shows too on VHS. Here are the two paintings. If you're new to my channel, here are the two paintings that I did in 93, 94. I was actually out of work. I had a serious accident. I had major back surgery, and I went out and got some paints, and after watching him several months, I decided to do a couple of paintings, and I think they came out pretty nice. So, but Bob Ross, God love him, miss him so much. So, all right, so stay tuned. Regular videos will be coming out on everything coleus. If you're, whether you're planting your own coleus from seed along with me, or if you're just going to go and purchase your own coleus plant at a nursery, at the store, Lowe's, Home Depot, they all sell them. Generally, Kongs are very, very popular, but regardless, follow along. I have plenty of videos to look through that from previous years, but there'll be more and more videos to come as the season progresses, and we'll touch on everything you need to keep your coleus going. Thanks for watching Jim's Holiest of Coleus. Stay tuned. We'll keep an eye out. Once we get some true leaves coming in and color and so forth, we'll shoot a video. I'm going to try to keep videos out at least every week to keep you guys up to date. Again, any questions, leave a comment below. Follow me on Instagram. If you're not an Instagram user, give it a try. It's actually a lot of fun. Instagram is really, really, I like how easy it is, how interactive it is. So if you're never into Instagram, I'm not a TikTok person. Facebook is okay, but I find Instagram, which is actually owned by Meta, I find Instagram is so user-friendly. Once you get the hang of it, and it's very simple, it's very, very user-friendly. It's very easy to keep in touch with people, whether it's me, whatever group. I have an Instagram channel for my motorcycles, for my Corvette, and so forth, and it's really, really neat. There's communities or persons or whatever you choose, but I have a Jim's Holiest of Coleus Instagram channel, so join. You don't have to post stuff yourself. You can just join and follow along, and you can keep in touch with me. You can send me photos of your plants if you're having a problem with it. It's the best way to keep in touch with me, because it's so easy, it's so user-friendly that I find it easy to communicate and keep track. I get messages notified. I get notifications better. It's very efficient. I can take a look at your plants, and any suggestions, I can boom. It's easier for me to give you good advice if you need it. So check out Instagram, make up a little snazzy name, and have some fun. And we can, and as I post videos here, I use Instagram to promote my YouTube channel, and later on when my farmers market starts opening up in June, I use it there. So it's like it's sort of like a melting pot of all different social medias. I don't do Twitter, I don't do TikTok, and so I'm basically a YouTube guy, Instagram, and a little bit of Facebook. Facebook is kind of glitchy with me for some reason. My Jim's Holiest of Coleus Facebook page, I don't always get notifications, and I feel bad because people might send me a question and I don't get it. So that's why I like Instagram. So okay, so lots more to come here. Jim's Holiest of Coleus. Stay tuned. We'll see you in another week or so. Take care, everyone. Thank you for watching. Take care.